Hello and welcome back to Suspend Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Titans, Season 2, Episode 5, Deathstroke. Welcome, everybody. Not the best of episodes this week, but it was still it still sufficed. Actually, at one point I asked myself if Akiva Goldsman was back, and luckily he wasn't. But before I get into all of that stuff, let me get into some business. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. If you already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go into the bell settings, get as many or as little notifications as you want. I have my schedule up on suspendedfanimation.com. And I also have it up on my Facebook page, as well for Suspended Fanimation. We also have a Facebook group. You can go into there and post stuff, talk amongst yourselves, all that kind of stuff, as long as you're respectful and post appropriate stuff, not stuff that I have to go in and edit and all that kind of crap. So I also have a Patreon, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet. I will have it by the end of this year. I have a Twitter and I have an Instagram as well. So with all that said, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. All right. So yeah, like I said, I mean, not the best episode to begin with, but it was serviceable. It got some stuff out of the way that needed to be done, and wasn't too bad. So let's start. So we start off with 22 minutes after Jason's abduction, and we see him in the trunk of a car and then hanging from handcuffs on a hook. And Dr. Light comes in and starts, setting up lights. He's setting up all these standing lamps with bare bulbs on them and all this stuff. And Jason just starts taunting him, basically talking about his name and, how much of a shit name it is and all that kind of stuff. And Dr. Light comes over to shut him up, and Jason uses his legs and knocks him out, and then dislocates his own thumbs and gets out of the handcuffs that he's hanging from. And he makes a run for it, and right into the hands of Deathstroke, who says, "Oh, you leaving so soon?" Then we see Corey. She's driving to San Francisco, and she calls up Rachel, who's asleep and has that black cloud hanging over her. It looks like razor blades. It's really hard to see anything again in this show. It's shot very dark. It's supposed to be a cinematic thing. It's supposed to be seen on a big screen. And even with the 65-inch screen TV that I'm watching the damn thing on, it's hard to see because it's too damn dark. That's the one gripe I've had about DC Universe shows, is they're too damn dark. So Garth comes in, he sees this cloud floating over her, and he reaches out and to touch it, and he ends up getting his wrist slashed, which wakes up Rachel, and she's like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And then he tells her that Jason's gone. She goes, "What do you mean Jason's gone?" And that's when Dick happens to be passing by, because Dick, being the eavesdropper that he is, goes, "What's going on with Jason? Where'd he go?" And that's when Garth starts stammering about going to the tunnels to go and look for Dr. Light, that Jason felt they had to prove stuff, but of course they didn't bring any weapons with them. And then they split up because Jason wanted to split up, and then by the time he heard the screams and went to go look for them, they were gone. So Dick is pretty pissed off, of course, and he says, "Well, you know what, he has his tracker," and goes to search for the tracker, and of course there's no conclusive thing going on. And Garth says, "Well, you know what, he's probably still underground, and the tracker is going to be no good anyway." And Dick's like, "That's right, he's underground." It was kind of a stupid moment, quite honestly, just the way he said it. And I was just looking at him going, why did you guys leave that in? That was just a horrible. But yeah, anyway. So Garth and Rachel are sent out to go and make coffee. They're sent out to be the gophers while the adults talk. And Garth and Rachel are talking about how the team is a bit off. Something's wrong. No one's talking to each other. And then, Garth says, "Well, you could use your powers to find Jason." She goes, "Well, not really." She doesn't give an explanation as to why. And again, this is the whole CW shit that keeps kind of filtering in sometimes to this, where people keep secrets from each other when they really don't need to. It's really kind of stupid, even though the person already knows what the secret is. And that's when Garth pretty much says, "Oh, so we're just going to leave the group to find them." She goes, "Yeah, old school kind of thing," which is again a stupid line. So Dick, Donna, Dawn, and Hank are all talking about why Jason and Garth went off in the first place to go and find stuff, and Dick doesn't really tell them, and basically goes, "Oh, well, he kind of felt he was being left out." Instead of, you know what, I was intentionally holding this shithead back, and he finally called me on it and went off on his own. So basically, I pushed him into it. Is really what he should have been telling the group, but he didn't tell them this. So they realize there's 20 to 30 miles of tunnel they need to go through, and there's no way in hell they're going to be able to go canvas all of that. So they split up. They're all in their civvies as they're going through, and Dick finally finds the spot where Jason was taken, calls the others over, and sees that he was dragged off, and then the tracks lead off from there. So there's no tracks from there. And as they're talking, we see that Dr. Light and Deathstroke actually have a camera in the tunnel there, and they're listening in. And Dr. Light and Deathstroke hear that Jason has a tracker on him, that they should use the tracker. And Dr. Light freaks out and is like, "What the fuck's going on, man? You brought me in. You told me to herd them in all, to San Francisco. I've done that. Our plans are actually getting screwed up, and you're just sitting there like a statue." He goes, "Is this because your daughter is now involved in this? What's going on?" And Deathstroke's just basically like, patience. Everything's going to work out fine. And this is eventually, this is all planned, of course, by Deathstroke. We already know this. And Dr. Light is impatient and basically says, "Fuck this. I'm going to go off on my own." And he leaves, especially once Dick finds the camera and pulls the camera down instead of tracing the camera back to the source, because you can do that supposedly if you have that kind of technology. If you have Batman's technology, why not just track the camera back to where its signal is going to? But anyway, yeah, so Dr. Light heads off on his own, and Deathstroke decides to he finds the tracker on Jason, cuts it out of Jason, and decides that Dr. Light has basically outlived his usefulness, but he's got one more item to do. They're looking for Dr. Light, and they're going to find him, is what's going to happen. And we see Dr. Light out in the car and putting on some death metal, and he's kind of getting into it. And Deathstroke shoots him in the head, kills him. Yeah. And he's going to use his body as bait, essentially. It's like, wow. Okay, so they killed off Dr. Light. All right, sure. I don't know. It's kind of weird. We have a couple steps forward in this, and then we get a couple steps back, is what happens with this series. I'll get into it at the end here, too. Yeah, I didn't expect Dr. Light to die either. It was kind of a weird thing. So Garth goes into the kitchen. He's getting some coffee, and Rose is there. It's middle of the night, and she really doesn't know Jason, and she's basically just there getting to some cereal, and because she got woken up in the middle of the night. And he goes, "You don't care about Jason?" He goes, "What the hell are you here for?" And she goes, "I'm just here to eat some cereal." She goes, "He got into the situation himself in the first place." And Garth gets pissed off and he leaves, and he goes back to Rachel. And Rachel pretty much echoes Rose's, sentiments as well, and basically says that it's Jason's own fault for getting involved in this. And yeah, it's just really kind of, stupid. And she says, basically, if you guys had woken me up, told me where Dr. Light was, I could have come with you. He'd be a puddle of light right now, as she put it. And, we wouldn't be in this mess to begin with. And she says, but instead he decided to keep secrets. And then he goes off on her. Well, you're the ones keeping secrets from Dick. And they blow up. And then he basically tells her to screw herself. And just then instead of a doorbell, for some reason, the tower pretty much identifies everyone who comes to the door as an intruder. Intruder alert, intruder alert. And it's just Corey standing outside going, "Hi, guys, I'm here." I thought it was kind of funny. I want to get that installed as my doorbell to my house now. Is that whenever somebody hits the door, because Pepper barks anyway like it's an intruder, and just say intruder alert, and just have it done that way. Because that's what it seems like Titan's Tower is set up as. Um, you know, and so also we end up getting the tracker ends up getting found by the computer. The team hones in on it and find Dr. Light's body hanging up there with the tracker laying on the ground. And the cell phone that's been planted on Dr. Light rings, and Deathstroke tells them that if they want Jason back, they're going to hand over Rose at 3 a.m. at Embarcadero Plaza. So Embarcadero Plaza, by the way, for those of you not knowing what San Francisco is, it's a huge location. U2 played a concert there in the 80s. Let's just put it that way. That's how big of a location it is. So saying I'm going to, bring you to Embarcadero Plaza, we're going to meet at Embarcadero Plaza. Is like, hey, you know what? Let's go meet out in Chrissy Field, which again is this huge open location where they do 4th of July fireworks and things like that. I'll meet you at the south end of Chrissy Field or so. Yeah, it's really, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm nitpicking about some stuff, but it was kind of, I've watched it twice now, and it just kind of pissed me off a little bit on some of the things. So Corey and Rachel, in the meantime, are talking about, Jason and how he's missing. And she goes, "Oh, why didn't you tell me?" And she goes, "Well, I didn't know at the time. It just happened." And so the team is out looking for him, and she goes, "Well, what else is new with you?" And she goes, "Oh, well, my dad's gone. And now since my dad's gone, I think I have some powers." And she pulls up her shirt and shows her the cuts and all this stuff. And Corey basically tells her, Tamarinian babies get to wear a smart bracelet because they have powers when they're born. They don't want these powers going off until they learn how to control them. But the bracelets never worked on her. She says, "You and I are special people. And people like them are destined to have to do something special, and the choices that they make define their destinies," is what she says. And so Rachel's really not buying into it. She goes, "Oh, so basically I can decide to be good or bad. I don't know about that. It doesn't seem right, especially with the powers that she's got going on." So the Titans that have returned to the tower are kind of dejected, and Dick sees Corey, and she asks what happened to Jason. And he says, "Well, why don't you come with us into the training room and we'll talk. We'll leave the kids outside." And Rose is like, "What the fuck?" You know? And Garth's like, "Well, I know a way we can actually see them talking." And he brings them into the computer room and he says, "Yeah, there's cameras all over this place. Bruce Wayne built it." And Rose wants to know, "Can we listen in?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I don't feel comfortable about that." She goes, "Well, I want to know what the hell is happening, what they're talking about." And so Dick is filling in Corey, no pun intended. Well, actually, it is a pun intended. Sure, what the hell? On Rose being Deathstroke's daughter, and Rose, has Garth turn the sound and hears him deciding about handing her over to Jason, handing her over to trade off for Jason. And Hank's pretty much just saying, "You know what? I'll take her and I'll bring her over there if you guys aren't going to do it, because there's no way in hell I'm getting involved with this motherfucker again." And Dawn even mentions not using Deathstroke's kid against him again. She goes, "Are we really actually thinking about using Deathstroke's child against him again?" Which should, obviously sets off Rose at this point, because she knows nothing about what Robin or Dick has done with Jericho and how he was the reason why Jericho has died. And we'll find that out later on. But you can pretty much tell that was the reason why. And, you know, Dick's like, "I don't know if we should use her. I don't know, and then we lose our leverage." And by this point, Rose is running. She's making a run for the door. And they see her run past the training room, and Dick hits his thumb on the button there and locks down Titan's tower. So they're trying to get her. Hank comes at her first and says, "You know what? Let's go get some milk and cookies. We'll talk about it." And she starts kicking his ass. And he's like, "All right, fuck this." And he starts, he grabs her and he's putting her in a sleeper hold when Dawn shows up and goes, "Let her go." And of course, Rose is faking it and just kicks him in the head, knocks him down, and makes a run for it. and she runs straight into Rachel and tells Rachel, move aside. She goes, you know, I don't have a problem with you. Just move aside. Let me get out. And Rachel's like, we can talk about this. And Rose and her start fighting. Of course, this sets off Rachel's powers. Rachel ends up lifting up Rose, smacking her down on the ground, then picking her up, sliding her across the kitchen straight into the granite countertop, breaking every bone in her body, essentially, and killing her. And then Rachel comes out of this fugue, realizes what she'd done, and runs to her room. So the team comes in, they've seen this, and they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? Not that, hey, somebody just killed, you know, a girl just killed another girl, but oh shit, what are we going to do now? And then Dawn reaches down and goes, you know, she's still alive. And her bones start cracking back into pieces, you know, start cracking back into place. And she's still unconscious, but she's still alive. And Hank carries her into the infirmary while Corey is trying to talk to Rachel, who doesn't want to talk. You know, she's like, you know what? I'm evil. It's over with, and goes into her room and locks herself in there. And as Dick's walking by, Corey asks him, she goes, so which problem do you want to handle first? Excuse me. And I'll get to all your questions at the end here, once I get my page turned. So Jason's talking shit to Deathstroke, telling him, you know, how Rose deserves a better father than him. And he tells him he's not scared of him. And Deathstroke's like, you should be terrified. He goes, but you've been conned by that, you know, idiot Grayson. And basically who puts costumes on children and tells them they're heroes. And he goes, but they'll learn soon enough with your death. And as he says, with death comes purification. Which, honestly, if I was Jason, I would be shitting my pants right about now. If you have somebody just sitting there sharpening their sword in front of you, telling them, you know what, you can talk shit all you want, man, but you're going to die. With death comes purification. Yeah, I would be shitting my pants right about that. So Corey and Donna are sitting down. They're talking about, you know, Corey, of course, does not tell, Donna does not tell Corey about Deathstroke again and what they've done. Because why? Why would you fill somebody in on that? I mean, come on, you know, fill them in on what's going on there. Instead, they start talking about Corey's distraction, as she says, which was actually a royal bodyguard. And she goes that she's second in line for the throne right now, or she's in line for the throne and needs to go back home and take over the throne, but she doesn't want to go. And Donna's like, oh, that's nice. I'd like to be anywhere other than here right about now. So, yeah. So, Hank and Dawn, in the meantime, have a little talk, and Hank is telling her about, he goes, I know what it's like to be alone in the dark, praying for someone to come and save you, but no one ever comes. He goes, this whole thing that happened with Coach, and basically he needs to go through some fucking therapy, not just go out and beat some guys up. He needs to go through some therapy at this point. I mean, come on. And she just, you know, holds him and tells him everything's going to be okay. And he says, like, I'm not giving up on Jason, kind of thing. And yeah. So Dawn runs into Dick and tells him that they need to talk. And, you know, that this whole thing needs to end. Titans, you know, bringing Titans back was a mistake. This whole experiment's a mistake. And she goes, especially, you never told these kids the history about what happened. You never let them decide for themselves. You didn't tell them what they were signing up for. And she goes, if you don't end the experiment, I'll burn this fucking place to the ground myself, is what she says. Yeah. And Dick never really tells her if he's going to do that or not. So Dick ends up getting the team together and says, you know what? You guys were right. We just can't abandon Jason, because obviously that was not an option to begin with. You know, just leave someone to die. And Garth and Rachel are to stay in the tower to protect Rose, and Garth is in his tiger form. And the rest are going to go after Deathstroke, and they're going to kill Deathstroke is what they're going to do. So as Dick's gearing up and all that stuff, he asks Corey, you know, he goes, I heard that you're getting ready to leave. And he asks her to stay instead of going home. And he goes, you're a natural leader. You know what? You should lead the Titans. That would be a good thing to do. And then he kind of goes into about how Garth died and, you know, why the Titans were formed to get out of the shadows of their, you know, their heroes that they were under, that they were sidekicks to. And then he said that when Garth died, he didn't know how to ask for help because it was the way he was raised, which is bullshit. Sorry, that's complete and total bullshit. When you have a partnership, as Batman and Robin have, it is all about asking for help and knowing when to rely on the other person. So, whoever wrote this shit has never read a comic book in their fucking life. That's all I'm going to say. Uh, yeah, it was one of those things I was just kind of like, man, even watch the Clooney Batman and Robin movie. They have that in there about relying on each other. And yeah, anyway. Ugh. Yeah. And then he tells her that he likes her hair, her new hair. Yeah. All right. Sure. So the Titans all take their position in Embarcadero Plaza. They're scattered out over, a mile and a half. And Dick cuts out his comms because he's going up an elevator by himself to confront Deathstroke by himself. And he tells Deathstroke, I know you're here. He goes, you want me. He goes, you can have me, but just leave Rose and Jason alone. And he kneels down the floor with his hands behind his head. And Deathstroke comes out and goes, no. You're not going to dictate this. You're not going to, become the martyr. You're just a con man. And he goes, and you're going to deal with the consequences, is what's going to happen. And he opens up the window louvers and shows Jason outside the window of this building on a window washing scaffold with explosives attached to it. And his hands tied behind his back. And Jason, of course, is trying to struggle out of the bonds behind his back and all that stuff. So before he can press the detonator, Corey blasts him with fire because Corey's there, and Dick's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And she goes, "Do you think I was just going to let you say goodbye by telling me my hair was nice? That you like my hair? That's a really shitty way of saying goodbye," is what she says. And basically, her and Dick end up fighting Deathstroke. And they're doing not a bad job. They're holding their own. And Deathstroke, basically, Corey tells Dick to go after Jason. He starts pounding on the window, which of course he can't get through because he doesn't have his bat suit on, so he doesn't have any of the gadgets with him. And Corey ends up getting a couple of grenades thrown at her by Deathstroke, gets knocked out. And as Deathstroke's gonna, bring down his sword on her, Dick stops him with his pipe. Yeah, Dick gives Deathstroke a little bit of pipe there, and they start fighting. And we get to see Dick with a basically a bow staff, if you will, fighting Deathstroke. And Deathstroke knocks the pipe out of Dick's hands, and just then Corey. I've been doing a couple Dick jokes here and there. Penn, you missed them. There was one that was really subtle, far back, and Deathstroke, knocks the pipe out of Dick's hands, and that's when Corey has come back, into consciousness and blasts Deathstroke. And he throws a stun grenade at them, knocking them both, making them grab onto their ears. And then he's standing at the window with the detonator in his hand and says, "Say goodbye to your little friend." And he pushes the button, which blows out the windows and the scaffolding. And we see Jason fall, excuse me. And Jason, in the meantime, has been struggling all this time. And he's almost just ready to get loose. And he does get loose. He ends up catching onto the building, as Dick sees when he looks outside the window. So Dick goes to grab onto Jason and gets his hand and tells him to hold on. And of course, Jason falls. The grip slips and he falls, and that's where we leave off on the episode. Is Jason dead? No, of course not. Either one of two things. Either Connor is going to come and swoop up out of the sky and catch him, or Corey is going to realize that she has the power of flight and will, lost her, bracelet or something like that, and realize that she has the power of flight and will come and pick him up. One of the two. That's how I'm thinking about it. So one thing I really do like about this season so far is they are retconning season 1 by actually establishing the Titans as a team back in the past. Now, the thing is, they're going about it in an ugly way because they have to tiptoe around Akiva Goldsman's really shitty writing, is really what's going on from season 1. And so they are trying to rebuild their universe, and they're doing a good job of it. But then along comes an episode like this where It's serviceable, but it's got some shitty parts to it that need to be cleaned up. And you actually need, at this point, people that actually understand comics that and the characters in the comics to not piss off your fans, quite honestly, and also do a little bit of fan service. Yes, they need to do another Doom Patrol episode. I agree with you, Mr. Roboto. Just to redeem themselves. They actually need to do something to kind of bring it into the comic book realm like Doom Patrol has, where it's faithful to the comic without being insulting. You can go weird. You can go weird on this stuff. And we find out as DC Universe does go weird with stuff, their shows are better than if they play it straight. So the weirder, the better is really what DC Universe is all about, quite honestly. So, yeah, I'm ready for another season of Doom Patrol 2, Pen. So let's see here. What do I got in the chat? I know you were all chatting here a little bit. More room for Superboy and other characters. Yeah. Well, Dr. Light was kind of a shitty villain, to tell you the truth. So I can see why they got rid of him. And I doubt he's going to be being brought back by the Lazarus Pit, Mr. Roboto. They haven't mentioned the Lazarus Pit. They haven't mentioned, at this point, with how old Bruce Wayne is, they never mentioned Damian at all. They haven't mentioned the League of Assassins. They haven't mentioned any of that at all. But again, it's still early on in the second season, and they're dealing with their own stuff right now. They're not dealing with Bruce Wayne, which they will in later episodes. I've seen the episode titles for 7 through 10 now, and there is a Bruce Wayne episode that's in there, which is not a spoiler. Joe Greer, I honestly, other YouTube channels can say rumors or whatever. I'm not going to hold any stock into it until it actually comes out at either New York City Comic Con or DC Universe or something like that pulls it out. Yeah, there's a lot of really stupid theories that have come out and of late, and some of them that have almost hit mainstream media that have been proven to be false, and by other channels that shall not be named, but they are actually starting to have their foot held to the fire because of that kind of stuff. So, Chaos says, I wouldn't be too upset if they lost someone. I don't want the show getting crowded. Well, Hawk and Dove are not supposed to stick around. That's supposedly the case. I mean, they're just here for the setup, and then they're supposed to leave and go off on their own. I would highly doubt that Donna's going to stay around either. And, I don't think that's going to happen either. All right. Ray has an interesting time balancing both worlds. Ray. Okay. Goku, my man Deathstroke reloaded the gun while he was holding Dick on the floor. Yeah, he did. That was an interesting move. I am liking the way they're portraying Deathstroke. They're doing he is like the Terminator. I mean, that's his other nickname, by the way, is the Deathstroke the Terminator is what he's called. And he is like the fucking Terminator is really what he is. Thoughts on Bruce on the show? I don't like Bruce. It was miscast. Totally miscast. Way too old as Bruce Wayne. Yeah, and supposedly he's still Batman because they said that he was out with the Justice League at one point. That's like, what was he in his wheelchair? Did he have his walker with him? Because yeah, that, yeah. Yeah. So, with that said, yeah, where are they going with this? The next episode is supposed to be Connor Kent, of course, and so we know that Connor's showing up, most likely saving Jason at this point. Ejar says, Dennis, but making up stories for views is for the algorithm. How dare you let truth get in the way of a great thumbnail? I know. Yeah, there's some sites out there, Heroic Hollywood, and I really hate that we got this covered. Uh, those sites that actually do a whole bunch of really stupid clickbaity things that end up in my news feeds, honestly. And I see them and I see a title, I'm like, what the hell? And then I've started looking out who it is, who it's from, and I'm like, I'm not clicking on that because it's a bullshit thing. Yeah. 10 times out of 10 for Heroic Hollywood and 10 times out of 10 for We Got This Covered. It's a bullshit thing. So I've stopped clicking on their ads. Goku says, I think the episode 7 titled Bruce Wayne could be an episode where we learn more about Bruce and Dick's history. Yeah, I'm sure we will, Goku. And I just hope that they actually give it a little bit more thought than the fuck Batman stuff that's been happening. And then, this whole, it was the way I was raised. I was raised not to feel. I have no feelings because of the way Batman treated me. No, sorry. It was just, I'm sorry. That line really just kind of really pissed me off for some reason. Maybe because I've read Batman comics pretty much most of my life, and I'm like, no, that's not the way it goes. Yeah. If anything, in the comics, Dick is the most well-adjusted person in the comics out of all of the Batman family. He really is. I'm hoping the acting by Ian Glenn gets better in that episode. Oh, it's not going to, Penn. I'm hoping for it too, but yeah, it's not. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what show he's in, to tell you the truth, or who he's playing. Yes, it can, Penn. It can get worse. Yeah, it can get worse. I know it sounds like I'm bagging on this series. I'm not. But in relation to the rest of the stuff that's out there on DC Universe, it's at the bottom right now. That's what I can say right now. It's at the very bottom of the live action series, and that's even below a canceled Swamp Thing as well. So I want it to get better. I want them. I mean, come on, just use the writers' room from Swamp Thing. They aren't doing anything. Bring them in. Let them write. Let them write Titans. Because you don't want Batman to overshine the. You can do this and still have Batman be a part of the. I mean, yeah, there's a way of doing it. I mean, look at Young Justice. Young Justice is done right. Batman does not overshine the rest of the team in Young Justice. There's a way of doing it and still having a large enough group. Yeah. Edar says, but I was told a source who knew someone who once stood in line at a Staples that worked for. Yeah, exactly. But he was so good as Sir Friend Zone. He can act. I know he can act, Penn. It's just he's not given good direction or good lines in this. Can't stay. Just wanted to say dick joke, dick joke. There's not a lot of dick jokes, Mofinobi. Yeah. That's the other thing I'm kind of liking about this season too, is they've toned down the dick jokes. I mean, it was getting bad in season 1. Season 1, they were writing in dick jokes wherever they could. You could tell they were reaching for them too. They were reaching for a lot of dick. Yes, I did say that. Yes. And God love them. At least they're not doing that for season 2. I was kind of hoping that they would tone it down, and they did. And, conversely, just make it about the story, which they have. Goku says, it seems we learned everything about Bruce Batman from Dick's perspective, but we haven't learned anything about Bruce himself. So I think episode 7 should really help establish who Bruce is as a character. I don't know if we are going to get that, Goku. I really don't know if we're going to get that. Animation might be easier to write and present. Not really, Joe Greer. You can set up stuff. You could still fuck up a lot of things. Animation's pretty hard to write for, quite honestly. I've done it before. Trust me. and just doing a little 5-minute animated short, something like that, really damn hard to write for. And you're trying to figure out, how you're going to do things and set things up. And yeah, it's not easy. They're just building everything up for the reveal of the Wonder Twins. Thanks, HR. I think Gleek is in the background already. You shouldn't have to work so hard to get some dick. Nice pen. Should ask Fanobi about that. He's not here, so he can't defend himself now anyway. I'll hear about it later. Dick seems more toned down this season than in season 1. Yeah. So the other thing I'm hating about this episode is that they went into the CW direction again of people keeping secrets. Even though these people already know what the fuck your secret is, they are still keeping secrets. And then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, here. And they're like, yeah, I already know this, man, but you shouldn't have been keeping that secret from so-and-so in the first place. And yeah, I'm like, dude, come on. Doesn't need to be that way. And everybody decides to air their secrets out in the kitchen. I don't know if you realize this on Titans here. Everyone seems to be eating something or preparing something, and they air their grievances out in the kitchen. I don't know why. I've just noticed that, and it's another thing that just kind of drives me nuts. Goku says, is it me or is it weird seeing Bruce being happy with his life in the series? Yeah, it is kind of weird. That's why I'm saying it's not Bruce. It's Bruce is supposed to be a brooding kind of person all the time because that is who he is. He's always thinking of worst case scenarios. He's not a happy person. Yeah. Talking about grievances in kitchens. Yeah, I know. Yeah. CW equals hallways, DC universe equals kitchens. Yeah. The DCU kitchens. God. Yeah, actually, come to think of it, Doom Patrol did the same thing. So they would always have the kitchen scene when someone was airing a grievance or food. It was food related, which is kind of odd now I think about it. Yeah. I run over a couple different episodes in my head really, really quickly about stuff like that. It's a sickness, I know. But it happens when you've seen the episode more than once. It gets stuck in there. So, what's going on tomorrow? Tomorrow is Saturday Morning Blast Off. That is where I take the genre news of the week and talk about it and any of the genre stuff that you guys want to talk about, as long as my tongue can keep up with me on that. Sunday is going to be Mr. Robot. Hello, friends. Mr. Robot returns for its final season. That's right, final season. Monday, I'm going to be off. Tuesday is going to be Is It Worth My Time? And it's going to be a little bit of a cheat on this one. I'm going to be doing the first episode of Primal, which is Gennady Tartakovsky's new Adult Swim series, animated series, which looks pretty damn awesome. I'm a big, huge fan of Gennady Tartakovsky, so I mean, I'll watch anything he does. Wednesday I'm off, and then Thursday is going to be the inaugural episode of Feelings in Hallways, where I talk about the new DC shows, DC CW shows, I should say. So that's going to be Batwoman, Supergirl, excuse me, Flash, and Black Lightning. And I think there's one more in there too. Arrow. That's right. There's 5 of them. Oof, it's going to be 5 hours worth of stuff. I'm not doing recaps of them. I'm just talking about them. I've been taking Monday and Wednesday off lately for a while now, HR, because coming up in November is His Dark Secrets on HBO. That's going to be on Monday, is what that's going to be. So, yeah. So I only get a month of that before I have to go back to doing a lot more shows. Takes a bit of time, and it kills my wrist when I'm writing. So when I don't have to do recaps, it's reviews, it's a lot easier. When I do recaps and reviews, I have to do a lot of writing. You could always harass me and just ignore it as usual. Does anyone know if In the Tall Grass is worth watching? I never heard of that, Pen. Feelings in Hallways. Yeah, it is a good name. I kept thinking about what to call it. I was going to call it like the DCCW hour, and I'm like, well, what if it doesn't run an hour? And then I was like, well, what else can I call it? And I was like, Feelings in Hallways, because that's what they're always doing. They're always talking about their feelings in hallways in the CW. So, it's a new movie on Netflix, In the Tall Grass. I've never heard of it, so I couldn't tell you. But that's not saying much. The DCCW Power Minute. I thought about that too, Ejar, but I was like, no, that's just a little too facetious. But Feelings in Hallways, it seems just about right. Yeah, it really does. So, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're still on the fence about joining up, you're going to see a video pop up here at the very end of this video. And what it does is it's Google takes the algorithm of all the stuff you've been watching, then it plucks a video out of my vast video library that matches that algorithm and pops it up there just for you. Up here is going to be 2 nights ago's episode of Is It Worth My Time, Mr. Robot? Mr. Robot. I'll pick his nose right there. There we go. So, yeah, just for those of you who have not seen Mr. Robot and are wondering what the hell Mr. Robot is all about. In the Shadows is the Michael C. Hall time travel movie. Oh, they couldn't get Anthony Michael Hall to do that. I kid. Of course he was available. They just didn't want him. Yeah, I know. My God. So, thank you everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video and all of my snarky comments tonight. Because yes, it has been a little snark going on, but that's what happens when you get this kind of quality TV programming. He's waiting by the fax machine. Nice, Jar. That was a good one. You sure he doesn't have his pager on him? Do they have his pager number? Isn't that what we come for? The snark? Sometimes. Sometimes I thought it was just for the free punch and pie. But there is no punch and pie. I'm sorry. I just use it as a ruse. Other channels like to put false information on. I use false that there's going to be punch and pie in my channel. That's what I say. Then, of course, you get here and there's no punch and pie. Sorry. It's bait and switch. I know. And his 1200 baud modem. Thanks. All right, Jar. We got it. Patrick Wilson. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow for Saturday morning blast off at 10:30 a.m. Come by for that. It's always a big blast of fun. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go and have a good night. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find yourself abducted by a guy in a hockey mask and another guy who likes to set up a whole bunch of damn lamps without any lampshades on them for some goddamn reason. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.